Hi, this is Spike Robinson and my co-host Monia, and we are doing the Culty Geek. And today we're going to compare and contrast two Star Trek Voyager episodes, Nemesis and Favorite Son. And Monia, give us the descriptions.
Yeah, so Favorite Son is 320, and Ensign Kim's DNA changes, bringing with it memories of the region, while a planet of alien women claim him as favorite son returning home to mate. Nemesis is 404. Shot down by crossfire, Chakotay bonds with one faction in the midst of a war. These are from IMDb.
Those are very, very nice and succinct.
Nice and concise.
Concise. The one thing I will say is that it takes a while to get to the quote unquote culty stuff of Favorite Son. Yes. Like you said before we turned on, started, that you were like, is this the right one? And yeah, however, once he gets there, I actually turned to Wally and I said, my God, all these women draping themselves. I mean, they just come on in and drape themselves over him and kiss him. And I was like, I said, wait a minute. Why don't we reverse the genders and see how well that would fly? I mean, even if they were really commercial, gorgeous guys, I'd still feel a little bit weird if I got to somewhere and a bunch of guys started kissing me and draping themselves over me.
You were 100% like super stepping over all boundaries, because at some point, right, he's sleeping. Like they did have like a nice, romantic, because it's all coerced. So, but like, it seems you're like, oh, a romantic moment before he falls asleep. And then he's like waking up and these two girls are just like, hi,
right in his face.
We just want you to have a good time.
Well, a lot of it felt like beer commercial, teenage boy fantasy.
I mean, it made sense to me in the sense that, and what I thought was so funny is that they basically explain themselves. Like they didn't really hide. They were just like, to me, I'm like, the way she described the process, I'm like, you're describing yourself like a parasite to me. That sounds like a parasite.
Well, also when they go, okay, they say, we send out our children in stasis to different planets, and then they come home with a whole new experience of other cultures. It's like, why?
Like none of that culture makes sense in every. Yeah.
I've never been a parent myself, but I would feel that if I had a child, I would want to raise the thing myself. I would want little Spike to have big Spike me for guidance. I wouldn't feel comfortable sending my child away for somebody else to raise, but I'm not.
Yeah, but what if you know that the Spike programming that you input into the DNA genetics was going to activate at a particular time, and baby Spike would just be like exactly how you wanted them to be?
I don't know. I wouldn't be comfortable.
I mean, 25 years of like whatever, and then you just have the perfect child.
I feel that would be a little bit tough on the child. Who am I to?
They're not going to remember.
Oh yeah,
their entire genetic.
There are species that do this. The cuckoo, notably.
Well, there are species that
lay their eggs in other birds' nests, and then
even like I'm thinking of the bugs that will infect, or viruses or whatever.
Oh gosh,
yes. Like deer, and then they won't be able to leave, and then so like they get so confused, and then they get eaten, and it's like, God, what are these strange? Yeah.
Oh yeah, those wonderful parasites that infect insects, and then the insect just crawls to the top. But being that way, but for your humanoids, it just feels a little like, and what is your species getting out of that? It doesn't feel like
it very readily.
Well, because he had all these gorgeous girls pawing over him, hanging all over him, and it was like, okay, maybe less complex human beings, say 1990s, a little less, forgive me, woke, would feel, it feels like a masturbation fantasy, if you'll excuse it. It does. Here I am, and all these girls are hanging over me and said,
well, isn't that, I mean, sometimes that's what they use. I mean,
every beer commercial, or that notable who is the guy who did that?
I'm also thinking of all the like extremist religions where it's like, and you'll get 30 brides. And it's like, this thing is like, yeah, you get 3 brides all at once. Also, it seems like we're all just like, you know.
Yeah, it didn't. And you see, my first question would have been, really, what planet were you raised on? And you?
I did wonder that because they all looked.
They all look
human,
alike.
basically?
Well,
like humanoid.
Yeah,
with some patterns,
with some little speckles. But their cultic thing is this is all about love bombing.
Yeah, that is 100% what's going on. Yeah,
it's basically the whole thing of wanting to feel special in all of these people. You know, feeling like somebody special. How many cults do that? Well, I started off with just me and the leader, and then we grew our group from there. But the thing that caught me was, you're special. I know you. We have important work to do together. You are special. You are the chosen one. So that's very powerful medicine. That gets to a lot of people.
I mean, the way it is that they start, I mean, it's not necessarily love bombing from the moment they communicate. But to me, I thought it was interesting that they were still like very friendly in a way that I don't think you would normally be if you're just like calming a new foreign ship and they're like, there you are. Yes, come on home. Instead of just being like, oh, we thought maybe you're one of us. Like, I feel like I would have been more like, I thought maybe we were getting some sort of thing, so maybe we should check it out. And they're just like,
they're over the top. Welcome.
Finally come home. You've come such a long way. You're the first one from Earth, I guess. From
the Alpha Quadrant, which just does not make any sense whatsoever. It really doesn't, because it's not convenient. It's not simple. It's not surefire. Anything. I mean, there's no way that you could have sent your kids away. You would send them to somewhere where you knew they would come back. A mother sea turtle does not lay her eggs at the top of a mountain. She lays them near the beach where she knows they're going to be able to get to the shore.
Yeah.
We don't put a brick wall in front of our evolution, or at least we try not to.
Yeah. I mean, I did wonder how much of that was even true, because to me, that doesn't even make sense. It just seems to me like their tactic is to just, like when they're saying sending things away, it seems more like they're sending whatever that DNA is elsewhere so it can infect people and then they can be called home, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like when they killed the other guy, it was more of like they sucked out his energy or something.
They sucked out all of his life force. Now, here's another thing, that they had just basically assumed heterosexuality.
Yeah, but do you know what? I do wonder about that. How much is it that they already instinctively know about their target? Like, is there some sort of way that if they can sense the DNA, the genetics out there? But yeah, I think that's a good point. But I did wonder
Yeah,
many times, like, how much do they know? Like, do they know some sort of weird? Yeah, I kept like, do you guys actually?
Yeah. What if he was gay?
Yeah.
What if it had been a gay crewman?
That would have been a great way to like have him be like, what? Okay.
Well, I love your outfits, but sorry, gal, this ain't happening.
I did quite like their outfits. I was like, wow, I'm inspired.
You see,
just like the different cuts. I'm like, oh.
I didn't like the broad black ribbons. I don't like oranges and yellows.
Nice and flowy. It's great.
No. And I was also here's the thing is that of course they're culty. They're all wearing the same color. How much of a trope is that?
Oh yeah. I mean, and they needed him to change into their clothes, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had many
and they
questions.
offered drugs, which is, oh no, drugs bad, okay. that little mood amplifier. And of course he said no, being Starfleet and all perfect and stuff. So, no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to have your mood stabilizer here. Yeah. But Elite Delix is Leola root soup, but he won't.
They didn't seem to care much about leaving him there for a bit. And then and I'm is he not like, yeah, but I'm obviously not staying because I have a contract with Starfleet that I must complete. What would the bureaucratic?
I think it was if anybody else details. Other than Harry Kim had wanted to go, Janeway would have been a little less sure. But because it was Harry Kim, and this is, let's face it, Voyager is the Harry Kim show.
Oh, I mean, I love him. He's great.
Yeah, he is the Harry Kim show. He is the one whom we experience all of it through his eyes.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I kept thinking it makes sense as you're saying, as you were saying that they're trying to make him feel special. Because I remembered he had that whole thing right about how he's still an ensign and he would have been promoted by now, right? And he's like, I'm just here doing I'm not really being respected. So it makes sense that this would be oh my God, these people seem to, and they fit him. He has that knowledge, and it's false knowledge, but when you know something, know it.
It started with, I was so certain.
Yes,
I was so certain. Just although, little minor thing, did you notice the security guy who came to scoop him up just before they found out that the alien ship was actually firing on Voyager?
I don't remember.
Okay, in the beginning, how
I know it's in the beginning.
And he's fine. Because next time you look at it, watch the security guy. He comes up because they're still not sure that Harry hasn't done something dreadful. And this guy comes up and he's going, oh, see, I've been waiting for you to mess up, kiddo. Captain's favorite. You and me are going to have a big talk in the turbo tube. Now, the other thing is, okay, so we got the love bombing, but then we've also got, as soon as they go away, they blocked everybody's number.
And it's just I don't know. I mean, they didn't give him an ultimatum, but they were very oh, well, of course you're going to stay with us, at least for a little bit, right? You can just stay one night. And then it's if he's not willing right away, you just have to just do it shorter times, but you'll just keep doing it. And then the way that they also never left him alone.
Oh yeah, they never gave him space.
And then they basically said that as well, as if it was going to be a lovely promise. Yeah, we're never going to let you be alone. You'll never be alone again.
You'll play with us forever and ever and ever
until we mummify you.
Well, also it was in one of those zoom shots on Janeway. And by keeping us from talking to him, they're making the decision for him. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, and that's when she realizes, something is wrong. Yeah. It's just, I guess they were very kind, but it seems, but she does, when someone comes with seemingly good intents, I feel like she doesn't technically question it that much. Yeah.
They were still a little bit okay, this all seems...
Yeah, and they had no weapons that they were gearing at them or anything like that.
No. And lovers of old 1970s horror films, cheap budget horror films, will also recognize a couple beats from The Dark Secret of Harvest Home, if you know that old flick. No. I didn't think you would. It's not very well-known flick, except that I think it's Ruth Gordon's last film. And it's basically the trope of guy marries this gal from a small town. They go back to the small town and find that there's all these lovely little Fisher King traditions where in the words of the man, a prepubescent pagan princess chooses the next king for the year, and everybody helps the king for the year, and then the king, in order to keep the crops growing. Of course, that bit isn't known, but it's all the women in the town.
Oh my God.
This is a joyous time.
Reminded me of another show that I'm gonna
Write it down. Write it down. Write it down.
I'm like, oh, that description reminds me. It's not even that similar, but it did knock some little neurons loose in the noggin.
So we've got the isolation from his group. We've got the love bombing, but it's a little bit bad touch. It really is. I mean, if I were a guy, no matter how gorgeous the gals were, I'm not sure I would feel comfortable with 3 women all descending on me, kissing my cheeks and stroking my chest. I mean, maybe.
I do wonder if that, I mean, it is very extra, although it fits in with the times.
It feels beer commercial to me.
Yeah,
it really feels beer commercial where
somehow it fits with the times, which the times being like the late 90s still when this came out.
And all the women are interchangeable.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
And it's 90% women and 10% men, and everybody.
I'm surprised it's even 10%. Are those just like, how does that make sense? I thought
you
they got
only
rid of them
see
right
one
away.
guy, but you see more than 10 women, but you only see one other guy.
Yeah, and he's just like not been harvested yet.
Yeah, and he's like just recent. You wonder how long he was there.
Because it sounded like he had a bit of. So maybe they have to keep them for a little bit. I don't know. Well, the thing is with him just going along with it, I did wonder if this is a bit of a situation, or maybe I just like to pretend that it is. You know, cabin in the woods situation where it's like there's some pheromones that are coming along with it to sort of like ease the process.
There's an old school Trek that I was just thinking of, this blink of the eye, where they speed up the people and they need men, and the men wear out very fast, but as long as we can mate with them before they wear out. But the wearing out, but the speeding up makes them docile and kind of, you want me? Okay, fine. I'm here.
That sounds unpleasant. It sounds very scary.
Yeah, well, it's Bill Shatner looking at a blonde. Come on. But seriously, they are assuming heterosexuality. They're assuming that the male is going to be attracted to lots of females. Like I said,
I mean, they definitely had to work on him for that because they kept having to push themselves onto him too. And I was like,
because he's so innocent. He's Galahad. He is Galahad he's the pure. He's the.
Oh no, he wants someone. But yeah, I was like, wow, he's just like. Really...
But he wants somebody special, but he doesn't want 3 women at once.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I was not impressed with how he got out of that. I feel like there has to be something going on to make them slightly, because he fooled them very easily.
Oh yeah,
why don't I just?
And then the gal's hissing, "This is a trap."
Yeah, he's like,
but she still sits down in the chair and allows herself to get tied.
No, he hits her.
Oh, he does? Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, oh wow, I missed this last time because I was like, ah. And you just don't see the impact, but he does like come at her. And I was like, was this your plan originally? I feel like it wasn't. You were going to tie them both up.
Yeah, it just, all of it felt a little rushed at the end. But then there was this brilliant fight that looks just like it's straight out of one of those culty movies. This is a joyous occasion. Yeah, I'll put on the screen what happened to the guy that got drained and see how joyous that looks.
But maybe he had a good time leading up to it.
Wally was saying that. My lovely husband Wally was saying
can't see that it would be worth it, but like,
yeah, was it worth it? Did he figure it was? He said, well, his thought was that he probably at the end was not enjoying himself. Yeah,
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I wondered as well, like, I feel like we could have expanded a bit more on the what was their name? The ones that attacked them first, and were like, we attack all of them.
That was the thing, was that other ship, the guys that attack him, when Janeway says, I'd like a few more facts, please, about these people.
Yeah.
And it's like, this guy could have had but he was just so into fighting them that he wasn't ready.
I thought that was really interesting. He was just like, I just gotta shoot them. And then when she says, well, if we, and that he says, like, even if you come back with your guy, I'm gonna have to shoot you because I shoot all of them. And it's just like, where is this even like?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
You know who they are now, and you know that he's just like,
you know who they remind me of? They remind me of the people that watch a couple episodes of Leah Remini's show and suddenly hate everybody who's in Scientology. And I've had a few people leave really rude comments on our channel saying they were in Scientology, they were so stupid, and all the damage that they did. One guy was so angry at anybody who was in Scientology that he wasn't willing to listen to any facts. He was just angry at people who were in Scientology.
Yeah.
And so he was wanting to say, I'm better than you because I never got in a cult, so I'm going to yell at you and call you stupid and laugh. In fact, his was, I've gone to so many cult people and they're just not willing to talk about what was missing in their lives to draw them into a cult. It's like,
also, why would they want to talk to you about it? First of all, second of all, if they're already left the cult, they'll probably process that. Hopefully, they've processed all of that already. Like,
and also that's like going up to a woman who was raped and saying, "What were you wearing?"
Yeah, or just that happens a lot online. Not necessarily that, but it'll be like, I don't know, how can we believe you? And it's not, I'm not saying like on Tumblr and stuff like that. And it's like, there's no point. Like, there's nothing even. There's no reason. It's not like they're targeting anyone. They're not saying like this person, now go attack them. It's just like someone talking about their experience and people like, what? I think people are just terrible everywhere. Not everyone, but there are terrible people everywhere.
So those aliens are so angry at this world that they will shoot anybody, even though these guys are the victims themselves being brought in, coerced by genetics. I'd also like to ask Yuval just how realistic this genetic restructuring would be.
Oh yeah, well, that's, to me, I'm like, this just sounds not like crazy.
It sounds like bullcrap. It sounds like science fiction.
Well,
bullcrap.
To me, that's why it's like. That's why it's just like, it sounds like a parasite to me, because he's like, can I meet my real parents? And it's like, pretty sure the real parents are the ones that made you. And then they just like threw in their genetics and their supposedly. Yeah,
we find out that
allegedly, they just throw in the genetics. I'm like, and then they're dormant until they take over. So I'm like, so you're a parasite. You're not the real parents of him. You didn't really create he was so willing. That's why I was like, there has to be some sort of pheromone or something, because he loves his family. And then he's like, okay, what about my mom? Oh, okay, cool.
Now, what did you make of all the weird dreams with his mother and his mother issues?
I did wonder if that was his real self trying to break through. Or at least that they would be depicting it in that way. What did you think?
I wasn't quite sure whether or not it was they were trying to show that he did have some vulnerability issues surrounding the fact that when you go through the entire series, you see that Harry Kim's mom is a bit of a overbearing helicopter mom. And so that must have affected him to be however many light years away from mom, and Janeway has become whatever mom. And then here comes this other, I called her Miss Breathless, because when she, hello, you are our person. You're one of my people, I think. It was like, cut rate Julie Andrews much?
I kind of now I'm like trying to think of like, I'm like, ooh, what if they had done this instead? And now I'm like, what if Paris had been so like, I can't believe I'm not invited, and he just like snuck along the planet, and then he's the one that discovers somehow, and then just like
that would have been a little bit more interesting, I think. The other thing is that
it's easy to just speculate.
But what if a female crew member had gotten infected with whatever their little thing is?
I kind of
leave this thing to be to be dipped into by, I mean, does it pick a male?
Well, that's why they say, I would assume that there are so few males, is because statistically the men, they don't get as many men coming over maybe. But I kept thinking that they really flattened the story of how he was infected. Like, well, you need to give me more information. Just like, yeah, I guess we were just on the planet. He just separated from us. Must have drunk
something, breathed something, touched something. Oh yeah, good. That's real good. I think that part of their lie was that there were females coming home all the time too. I'd be willing to bet all of those females were probably there all the time.
Oh, you think so? Okay.
Yeah, because none. Now, when somebody says, "Oh, we were raised in different cultures all around," here you are, a ship full of strangers to the area. Wouldn't you have said, "Hey, could you tell us about some of those worlds that you were grown up on, please"?
No. They need to secure the product first. Secure the product.
It didn't seem real to me. It really didn't.
I just kept imagining it as a type of alien species that basically consisted of people who just essentially kind of ended up there and then and the women just became the people that, perpetuate it. And then the men just get, mummified. But yeah, maybe they are, because there's not a lot of explanation as to how any of them, because supposedly no children are born there.
Mm-hmm. That would have been the first question out of my mouth would be, really, where were you raised? That would have been my first question to cut rate Julie Andrews would have been, really, where were you raised?
I am giving them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to say these were probably all questions that were raised in the writer's room, but you know how things go. Like, yeah, what if? And they're like, I think we should just like collapse it, and then it's faster. It's like,
yeah,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, we were watching something, I forget what it was, but some guy basically fell off a cliff and was getting shot at right and left. It was like, why isn't he killed? And I said, plot armor. Yeah. It's not that stormtroopers have bad aim. It's that Luke Skywalker has fucking plot armor.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, they just didn't want to look at a guy who's kissing his sister, so they couldn't aim properly. No. So moving into, I think, the much better written episode. Mm-hmm. Don't get us wrong. I love every single episode of this show, but some of them are better than others. They always have to be. Yeah. And Nemesis starts with Chakotay running through a forest, and we get right into all this very friendly, very noble fighting people. Do you fathom, and do we abhor none but the Nemesis? Yeah. We're not going to shoot you because you're not our enemy. Yeah. Whereas
I did appreciate how, like, both of these episodes show both of them being drawn into something, and it's kind of like it's catered specifically to Chakotay, like, because it's like they're not being like, you got to be with us. No, it's like, well, we have these strong feelings and we won't kill you. And we will try to make you understand. I mean, they do it in a very...
But this one, whereas the other one is about love bombing, this one seems to be about trauma bonding and
trauma bonding for sure, yeah.
And loaded language.
But also, I do feel like there was a bit of, I mean, it wasn't love bombing, but I felt like the joy that the village felt when he came was still like important, because then it's like, oh, he did something for all of these people and they're all just like, wow, like you did it to us. And it's not long lasting, but it's still like, I think
it was basically, though, here he was in trauma, and then they come, they take care. You're safe now, yeah. but also there were people that you're going to sympathize with. The little girl who is in what amounts to be a refugee camp, who still has perfectly feathered hair for the 1990s. I noticed.
Maybe something in the air. The humidity is just exactly right.
Yeah. I would kill for hair like that. But I mean, all of the words, I've got like 2.5 pages of words that were used. Language, yeah. But all of it was stuff that if you use them instead of the words that we usually use, you get looked at a little funny, but you'd still understand what was being said.
Yeah.
But it did create a bit of an off-balanceness to it that you're not quite. Now, here's the thing. We're working with a universal translator here. He is hearing their words through a universal translator. Why isn't he hearing his normal language?
Well, I wonder. Well, a lot of them are English. I mean, like nullify instead of kill
Nullify,
or whatever.
yeah,
Right? Nullify
yeah,
is like a word, right?
Oh, they're all.
wonder
I
if-
know, but why isn't he hearing them just speaking regular instead of this very Shakespearean, poetic? Do you fathom? Walk through the trunks. Your glimpses in the soon after, sharper to make the walk after the new light.
Well, they can't add verbs and stuff where there isn't anything. It has to be true to the original.
Mm-hmm. Do my tellings, or you've strayed into the fullness of it. Or this one, instead of we're angry as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. We're wrestled to the rages and we're not going to swallow it.
Yeah.
I'll nullify one nemesis for each cousin and brother who has been nullified and one afterwards. And instead of grandfather, it's my mother's father, or close your glimpses and dream of your gloried brother. So it was beautifully poetic language. It was very, very Shakespearean, but it made them seem more noble. Now, usually your loaded language separates you from the out group and also creates a sort of bond between you and everybody who speaks it. And Chakotay starts picking that up right away. I mean, he says, in my world, instead of saying in my world, he says, in my sphere, we do this. He immediately, but he's the sort of person that would use whatever the language is once he's picked up what that is, because
he wants to be respectful, I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he's their ideal candidate because he does want to respect their traditions.
Is a weaponized empath. This is like
big time.
Exact,
big time, and
because it takes them very long time to get there, and it needs to be the traumatic losses, right? That are like, oh my god, we're being attacked, they're being killed, I have to avenge them somehow.
And first it's the little kid he's got the trembles,
and she gives him something, right?
No, not the boy, the soldier boy, who gives him food first, provisions. And then they tease him because he hasn't fathomed the Nemesis yet. And
they don't explain him very well, so
you haven't fathomed the Nemesis yet, and you've still got the coward's trembles, but I'm going to do this. But it's immediately somebody that Chakotay's going to feel protective of. Then another soldier dies, they give him his coverings, his uniform, so he's dressed like them. He's trained to. There's a great scene there where I was supposed to drill you. Now you have drilled me. And Wally and I just went.
Yeah, I mean, there's that reciprocity, or making it seem like it's reciprocity, and like, wow, you're so.
It is, yeah. They were all. I mean, he's given a group of people who feel things deeply, have a very deep belief, and their enemies are monsters who stake them up so that they can't go to the gloried way after, which apparently is down towards the center of the earth, rather than, which is fine. It's quaint. It's all very quaint. It really is. It's also very noble. They're kind. They're generous. And then, yes, he goes into the little camp, and here's that cute little 15-year-old, perfectly coiffed girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are brightly greeted.
I did like that as well. I was like, "Ooh, brightly greeted."
I would love to talk like that all day. I mean, that would be funny, you know?
Yeah.
It'd be sharper for you to do my tellings. And do our tellings, like and subscribe. Yeah. It is. A guy says, well done. And when he's walking, I just was surprised it wasn't like goodly achieved or something. Because it seemed, that's a little prosaic. Yeah. But the thing is that he is told that these guys are evil. He's going, well, there might be a Kraden soldier that's feeling the same way about you guys right now. And then he sees these people beating up civilians and to any soldier, beating up civilians is hopefully not cool. Hopefully,
it happens a lot.
It happens a lot, unfortunately. But to Chakotay, he doesn't like it. It doesn't float with Chakotay.
No.
And
they do look quite scary. I mean, when you see the close up of
God, yeah, they got these little
not too
claws yeah, they've got those little claws. It looks like yeah, well, I just saw what's inside a penguin's beak for the first time. They've got all these papillae that kind of point
no, I don't want that.
Nope. They've got long, sharp papillae down all the way down their throat so that the fish can't get out the other way. Yeah, so, and squids do that too. So, but that's what it reminded me of, these little hooks and stuff. I assume that kissing is not big in their culture. But what I was thinking is that I was wondering, since this was a simulation that Chakotay was in, could it be that the Vori actually looked like the Kraden? The Vori, the people that he was supposed to be.
Yeah, that they look like the gross ones, that they've reversed it. Yeah, I did wonder that as well.
Or maybe that both species look like that, because it makes sense that two neighboring species that are at war with each other would probably be of the same genome. I mean, I'm not an exobiologist.
I do wonder as well, then, do you think there were multiple of these little holographic setups, simulation setups?
Said they had dozens of them.
But simultaneously, do you think? Yeah.
Simultaneously running, it would have to be.
Yeah.
And they said
that's a lot of people to me. Like that's like 12, like at least 12 people joining in, and then probably getting new people. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, well, of course, the people are all holographic people. And then also they've got Chakotay. They say that they've got Chakotay drugged so much that he could be convinced, to quote the doctor, that your mother was a turnip.
Yeah. I was like, okay, a turnip specifically.
A turnip specifically, yeah. Well, you just got to love Robert Picardo. You really do.
Yeah, it was, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tuvok comes for him. Do you think it could have been anyone else? I feel like he was good. He was a good choice.
He was a good choice because he's the badass Vulcan. He just is. He's a good badass Vulcan. Yeah. But yeah, would it have been easier if Paris had got him? Probably not. But
no.
But we saw at the end that the Kraden were these big, shaggy things with the teeth.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to bet the Vori were like that too, that we automatically bond to people who look like us. So those people...
The simulations all kind of absorb a bit of,
these people were set. And the other thing is that when he's supposedly out of the simulation, his trainer is still there. Or is that a simulation that's been stuck into his brain? His trainer's still there, walking him to the battle.
Well, if he's that drugged up,
it could be that he's still imagining him.
Yeah, or it could just be...
It could be a mistake. It's also interesting that Tuvok says, come on, walk with me, I'll show you. They don't show them going to the facility and going to a building. All of a sudden, they're walking into a clearing. It's like, well, if this is a simulation, then where did they enter the sim? I would have been more convinced if I had seen the machinery behind the simulation rather than the reset. I mean, yes, the reset simulation where you see the people that had just gotten killed in front of you walking around like you'd seen them 3 days ago. But still, it would have been nice to see the building. They probably ran out of budget.
Maybe. They do that later with, in season 5, I think. when they get, swapped out and end up in like the biospheres.
Oh,
whatever.
yeah. You do.
Then they do end up showing kind of behind, which I did enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a budget issue for sure. I do wonder, like, what I really liked about this episode as well is that when he returns, he still is like, I'm still shaken. Yeah.
He's still hating the nemesis that he's been taught, drugged, and trauma bonded to hate.
Yeah, all of those feelings are still there. They just have nowhere to attach to now. And it's just like, just because logically that this is not a situation, like you can't.
No, or as he says, it's easier to start hating than it is to stop hating.
Oh yeah, that's true. This is like, relatedly, do you think the Doctor has been trained for therapy?
I was just going to say, it's just a shame they didn't have Deanna Troi on the ship. Yeah, the Doctor probably uploaded some psychology.
He's been like, really...
Yeah, well, this is just, let's see, Nemesis is season 3 or season 4? Season 4. So, yeah, because it's just after we get rid of Kes and get 7 of 9 instead.
Who also has great arcs for recovery.
Oh, God, yes.
Trauma,
oh, God, yes. Yes. But the trauma of battle, the trauma of meeting a bunch of people who are really very nice and kind.
And then he fell for it probably, yeah.
Though, of course, it also feels a little like the line that he says, I'm going to kill these guys for everyone who they've killed of mine, and then one after. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's a recipe for a long-lasting war with no reconciliation between sides. If you're going to eye for an eye, soon the world will be eyeless.
Yeah, I mean, it's worse than eye for an eye, isn't it? It's an eye for an eye and also an extra one.
Yeah, eye for an eye plus one.
just to be like, show you how angry I am.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
And also, that's not forgiveness or peace or brotherhood. That's, you did me wrong, I'm going to do you wrong. And, excuse me, how can we move forward?
There's no forward. There's only a spiral of high tension and it's just like a recipe for very, very
eye for eye is a recipe for keeping the war going.
Yeah, and I think it does signify, like, once you're in that, that feeling when you're in that rage, that you would say that and be like, that, and then if they can maintain it as well, like, it's just like an egging each other on. There's no way to de-escalate it, really.
Yeah, we've wrestled to the rages and we won't swallow it. I loved that line. Because he does. They want your plantings. They want your sisters. So that they are Nemesis. They're not an actual people. They're not humans. They're beasts. Motherless beasts.
Yeah, because they called them beasts. Yeah. And he was like, you really are beasts. I know why they call you beasts.
And when Chakotay finally cracks, he says, you motherless beast. He cracks in their language when he's finally getting it. Instead of saying, go to sleep, kid, it'll be all right. He says, close your glimpses and dream of your gloried brother. Oh, yeah. And how tragic is, and I'm sure that this is popped in everyone, where he's seen the 7th contingent being killed and upturned and all of this horrible stuff. And they keep comes along. They tell me that they leave our soldiers upturned. My brother's in the 7th. Maybe you'll see him. Can you take a note to him? Like, oh, come on. Feel something. It's manipulation.
They could become Hollywood producers, probably.
Yeah, they could. They do very well.
Yeah, feel something. I'm like, oh, yeah. So like 1918, when they just kept being like, all right, have some emotions.
Well, that's very much like what happened in World War I with the Belgian babies. You know about the Belgian baby thing. I think we've talked about this before.
Have we? The Belgian babies?
Back in World War I, there were all of these stories about Belgian babies having their hands cut off, that the German troops were going through and cutting off the hands of Belgian babies. Turned out it was a British security officer who made this story up and passed it around to get people into a froth so that they would be more into killing the Hun rather than, but that's my second cousin once removed over there.
Well, also, like, it is interesting because then it's like, well, wouldn't this be, where are all these mutilated? There were please, can I please adopt one of these handless Belgian babies? And they just, they've already been adopted, so because this was wow, there was a big market for that. Okay.
Yeah, but of course this was 1914, so you couldn't go to Snopes and find it out, or you couldn't,
No, of course. It's probably like, you hear it, and of course.
Well, actually, in our in 2001, we actually had the daughter of the Kuwaiti ambassador testify before Congress on the direction of Hill and Knowlton that she had seen Iraqi soldiers tipping infants out of incubators. Turns out she was being coached to say that she had seen no such thing happen.
The thing is, these soldiers already do enough horrible things. Like, if nothing else, there's already
they already do
a long history of rape and abuse, and we don't need to make things up.
No, but we do need to make something up that's so horrible that even our
because that's you're right.
Yeah, because then they're going over the line. But of course, it's just like a certain politician whom we shall not name, who swore up and down that he'd seen footage of Muslims chanting and singing praises after 9/11, just on 9/11, and actually he hadn't. It was a football game that he'd seen or something else.
Yeah, I feel like that was mentioned in a book I read recently, where it's like talking about the meme. Was it like something about how the travel of the meme and then this thing and that thing, and then the timing was like, yeah.
But then, who would do that? Who would cheer at somebody being killed? Well, we would.
Americans.
We would. I mean, I still remember I was homesick that day when we started bombing Iraq. And I had been watching a nice little romantic movie, and they cut away from that movie to show the crowds cheering at the NASCAR rally, USA, USA, USA.
Really? Yeah.
It's like we're bombing a city. Now, maybe I'm not saying that, I'm not a fan was never a fan of Hussein or any of but some of the fury, the hatred, the blind hatred,
it's the cousin and another. It's like you did something to us, like we are.
The fervor
you
is
could
just
feel it. You could feel it. Yeah.
I mean, yes, we have not grown up enough that we still cannot settle our arguments without some form of militaristic strength. And I have, I'm not a politician. However, I do feel that when we get our populace whipped up into a frenzy, a genocidal frenzy, we're just like Chakotay being taught to look at somebody that he's never met before and say, motherless beast. He also, before he knew that Tuvok, he was saying, you killed her. And you did this. It's like, no, somebody
it was very else, he was lashing everything out. Yeah.
No, somebody else of his species did that.
It actually somehow reminds me, this is reminding me now of all of because I still get messages to this day that are like, you. And I'm often like, this is all stuff that has nothing to do with me. But they just are they have convinced themselves that I'm the person that XYZ. And they'll be like, I'm just like, I don't even talk about that. Like, why do you think this is a me thing? Like, what? No. I don't.
That. And there's the separation is that even if Chakotay had been facing another Creighton, that wasn't necessarily the one that had
but it's
done
just like,
all
this
of
is
these.
now the representation.
Yeah. And we take one person of a species or a race or a country or a belief to represent all the people of that, so that a lot of people will go, oh, well, they're all terrorists. They're all awful because this group of people are, so they must all be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not mathematics that works in my book.
No, it's just paranoid policies and stuff.
It's jingoism, pure and simple jingoism. But this was very well done, and like I said, the language.
It was a great episode. Yeah,
the language was beautiful. It really is.
So, did you prefer these outfits then?
No.
All right, no outfits for you so far. All right,
Star Trek outfits in general, the Star Trek outfits are not something that I like. I like the uniforms, but I hear that those could produce back problems for the actors.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, particularly in Next Gen. The one-piece jumpsuit, that was the beginning of the Picard maneuver. That is when Picard takes his shirt and straightens it. That's the Picard maneuver. As opposed to the Riker maneuver, which is swing your leg over the chair that you're about to sit in.
Why not? Yeah, I mean, there was a little joke about that on Twitter, because 7 of 9 has returned in the new series, and she has like actual clothes on now. And Robert Picard, he answered on Twitter, and he was like, "Oh, what happened to the wonderful neoprene bodysuit that I made?" He was like, "Oh, it's getting a little chilly. You just needed a little update." It's like, okay, carry on. Oh. Yeah, she has real clothes now.
Oh, good. I'm glad they're allowing her to wear clothes.
Yeah. I mean, that never made sense to me at all. But yeah, especially now that
she
also had
what
heels.
It was. Yeah.
But yeah, she has to. We need to have the hot woman here. But like, she was also wearing heels. Like, you're telling me a Borg is going to be wearing heels?
Yeah.
Like, sorry. Yeah. I mean, you can tell me that the engineers on the ship just want to wear heels sometimes. Sure, they're fictional, but I'll believe that you projected that. But she's a Borg.
Heels.
She's just a Borg. Borgs wouldn't do that. Come on.
They are non-functional.
Exactly. That is what she would say. She would say that. These are non-functional. These slow me down and they will harm my,
But they make us push our boobies up more. That's why,
Oh, I thought it had to do with the calves or something.
Maybe it does. I don't know. All I know is that it's worse. It's almost like bonding the Chinese.
I actually know a woman who had to have surgery to fix her Achilles heels. Yeah, because they got
I got married in flats.
Oh, I
got married in flats.
Of
course, unfortunately, the flats that I chose were these sandals that we found in the back of my mom's closet that just magically happened to match the color of my dress.
That's pretty cool.
For the something old. Well, yeah, they broke halfway down the aisle.
All right, well.
And then broke again during the dance with my dad.
I feel like this is just, these are the standard little, there's just the challenges that you like.
Yeah, you just go
makes
through.
Life more exciting.
So girls, when you get married, if you get married, you want to do the something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. Don't make the something old your shoes.
Unless you have extras.
Life advice from Aunt Spike. And on that note, so we have talked about Nemesis and favorite son, and I think we've said why these ones are kind of culty. If you do want to check out, it's called The Dark Secret of Harvest Home, and I forget which old Hollywood actress it was her last.
So yeah, I'm gonna be.
It's not a good. It's not a good movie. It's not a good movie. It's one that you want to take a basket of popcorn and sit down prepared to watch just how crappy an old 70s movie can be. But, it's one of those. I mean, I just finally watched Birdemic.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, I haven't even watched that. I just listened to the podcast.
Oh, Birdemic.
Listen to podcasts making fun of it. I don't need to watch it. That's fine.
Oh, Birdemic is if you really want to laugh, watch Birdemic. Yeah. So let's see. Any final thoughts there, Monia?
No, I'm just looking through my notes here, and yeah, it just says about language, how they talk about their enemies. I'm like, yeah, this sounds like it's all points that we hit.
Yep. Yeah. Well, anything else you guys want to say, leave our comments down below. Let us know what you want to do. We don't want to get stuck on Star Trek. We want to do various other things. We've talked about a few things that we want to do. Let us know. We'll do anything but Twilight. That's our new phrase, don't you know?
We'll do anything but Twilight.
We'll do anything but Twilight.
Yeah. Well, you should. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. No, what?
I was like, you should be careful. That means someone's going to be like, what about 50 Shades of Grey?
Oh, God. Like, no.
No, exactly. I'm like, oh, I feel like it's dangerous to only specify one thing. But we can't have.
Well, but we could just say
50 Shades is based on Twilight.
So that's why we wouldn't do 50 Shades.
Okay, yeah, perfect. It's related. Yeah.
Because it's fan fiction from Twilight, even though there's no vampires, no werewolves.
Yeah, but that's how fan fiction works. You know that. You can just do whatever you want.
Sorry, but when I wrote fan fiction,
is so in right now.
Stuck to the characters you were given. And we liked it that way. Oh, God, I'm such an old woman, aren't I?
Well, I'm surprised you didn't delve into all of the AU worlds and stuff like that. I used to love canon. It depended on the fandom. Certain fandoms, I was like, I prefer the canon fic. And then other ones, I was like, no, I want to have the crazy AUs. Like, they're in space. Okay.
I will tell you, when the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies came out, I knew I could not go and see it in the theater because I knew just from the previews that I would be standing up in the audience going, that's not the way it is.
Yeah, I don't think that's really those aren't, that's not where you would go for the source, the accurate.
No. And also John, who is always going into it in his book, which has just been released. I'll put a link below. Opening Our Minds is finally on print and Kindle. And I'm just finishing up the editing of the audiobook now.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that's exciting then. Then really everything available in all formats.
But one of the things he says is that Derrin Brown did a thing where a guy actually did shoot at Stephen Fry, thankfully with blanks. And I was thinking,
Yeah, you've all told me to watch these things. He said there's like a bunch of episodes where he manages to like
get the actual Manchurian candidate. And it's like,
yeah.
But you don't need hypnotism to shoot a bullet at Stephen Fry. All you need to do is show them his nude scene in the second Robert Downey Jr. movie. I'm sorry. That's awful. I'm sorry. Stephen Fry, if you're listening, I love you.
Oh, boy.
And on that note, okay, well, we're the Culty Geek. This is Monia.
Yes, that's me.
And I'm Spike. And thank you for joining us so much. Like, share, subscribe, all of that. And have a great day.
Hi, John here. Thanks for watching. We'd appreciate it very much if you would click like, as well as subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. Every dollar helps, and we welcome new patrons on Patreon, or you can make a one-off payment with any currency through PayPal. Thanks so much.
A turnip specifically.
A turnip specifically.